What's up everybody, Want070 here, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links leak video. And today's leak video is very interesting because the stuff that I'm talking about in today's leak video is pretty insane for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. But at the same time, the leaks that I'm going to talk about in today's video, there ain't really much there. And I'll explain that when we get into today's discussion. But nonetheless though, hope you guys are excited for today's Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links leak video and information video. If you guys are excited for Zexal World and Cyberse coming to Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, be sure to go hit the like button on the video down below. Subscribe to the channel for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links content and live streams. And without further ado, let's go talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal World and Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, and let's go talk about Cyberse coming to Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. Let's get into it. So the first thing that we're going to take a look at is Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal World coming to Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. Huge shout out to Random Blocks for data mining all this content and putting it on duellinksmeta.com. If you want to check it out for yourself, link in the description down below. Not sponsored by them, but this is where the leak information is coming from. And all we got for Zexal World is new world ID is Zexal open, which is an extremely weird placeholder, but it's still very interesting to take a look at because this is the first little drop. This is like the first little hint that, yeah, we're probably going to get Zexal World in September. Every time we get a new world in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, it's always at the end of September, and it's a little overdue, in my opinion, for Zexal World. When DSOD World was, you know, coming out, or when we were getting a new world back in 2019, I genuinely thought that we're going to be getting Zexal World because it just made the most sense in my head. But we got DSOD World instead, which hasn't been a bad world whatsoever. But now we're probably going to be getting Zexal World in September. Still, it is really weird that we have only new world ID is Zexal open, but this is probably just a little placeholder thing to trigger the unlock for Zexal World. Because, fun fact for everybody that does not know already, a long time ago, I don't remember the exact date on when this leak got leaked, but basically Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links and the developers of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links actually put placeholders for Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal World, Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 World, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Brains World, and I think there's like KC Grand Cup or something like that. I forgot what it's called, but it's on the screen right now because I'm going to put it in post-editing. All those worlds have been leaked. Konami has the ideas to put all those worlds into Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links at some point. It's just a matter of when. And the fact that we have a new world ID called Is Zexal Open in the April 21st update is really cool in my opinion. And yeah, this is probably just the first little tiny hint, the tiny drop that, yeah, we'll probably be getting Zexal World in September. And if that is the case, you guys will be seeing so much more leaks later on during the summertime on probably Zexal World. Really cool that we got a hint for Zexal, and yeah, be sure to stay tuned to my YouTube channel for all Zexal World coverage because whenever we get more leaks for Zexal World, I'll be sure to talk about it. So the next thing that I'm going to discuss about in today's Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links leak videos, these two new icons that got introduced in the April 21st update. We have the Defect icon and we have the Cyberse icon, and these two icons mean a lot for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. So for you guys that only play Duel Links and don't interact with anything else when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh!, Cyberse is actually a new monster type that is not in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links yet because that was a monster type that was introduced during the Link era of Yu-Gi-Oh! It was used by Playmaker in the anime Yu-Gi-Oh! Variants, and that was basically his whole deck was these Cyberse monsters. And the fact that we have an icon in the game's files of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links for a Link Karibo is pretty much indicating that we're going to be getting Cyberse in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links maybe in the next box or sometime in the future. Also, if I've been told correctly, shout out to my boy Stardust Nobody, aka Sam, he told me that the icon that is leaked in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links is pretty much the same one that was used in Link Evolution to indicate the Cyberse monster archetype when you're building your decks and sorting through all your cards that you have, so that's really cool. On top of that, we have this defect counter right here, this defect icon, and that is actually for a counter for a card called Defect Compiler, which by the way is a Cyberse monster. And the fact that we have Cyberse as a monster icon in the game, and the fact that we have a counter for a defect, and what Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links likes to do is that every time there is a card that indicates a certain type of counter, they always give custom artwork for it, and as you can see, it's right there for Defect Compiler. So one, we're going to be getting a card called Defect Compiler in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. We have a custom counter for him. We have the Cyberse counter in the game, which means we're going to be getting Cyberse soon. And yeah, Defect Compiler is a Cyberse effect monster, which is really cool. It is very exciting to know that we're going to be getting Cyberse cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. It's either just going to be Defect Compiler or they're going to be releasing a lot of Cyberse cards that don't do anything with Link summoning. And it's just cool that they're introducing that into Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, especially because we probably won't get a Link world anytime soon. For all we know, they might just make a new mobile game anyway, so we'll have to wait and see, but it's still cool to see Cyberse being introduced into Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. And while on the topic of Defect Compiler, let's go talk about the card, because since we have a custom artwork for defect counters, I'm gonna guess defect compiler is gonna be coming into Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. So let's go take a look at this card. Defect Compiler is a 3-star light Cyberse effect monster with 1000 attack and 1000 defense. This card states, once per turn, if you would take damage from opponent's card effect, place 1 defect counter on this card, maximum of 1. Once per turn, quick effect, you can remove 1 defect counter from this card, then target 1 Cyberse monster you control, and it gains 800 attack until the end of the turn. Now, I'm going to be honest, Defect Compiler isn't really that good of a card. It's a super situational card that can only support Cyberse monsters, and if for whatever reason this is the only Cyberse monster that we get anytime soon, it's only going to be able to boost itself up to only 1800 attack. There is 4-star vanillas that do the job better, and they start off at 2000 attack, so it would be weird if we only got this card, so I doubt that's going to be the case, but my guess is that this card is probably going to be, I don't know, in a future main box as like a rare rarity at best. And knowing Konami with some of the crazy stuff they have been doing in the game, like adding Judgment Dragon to the game, Chaos Dragon Pioneer to the game, and just a bunch of just crazy broken cards into the game, or just not broken cards, but you know what I mean, very powerful cards into the game. I would not be surprised if they're like, you know what, next main box, let's introduce the monster type Cyberse and just add a bunch of Cyberse cards that are not related to Link monsters that can work in Duel Links. So that's going to be my guess, and for all we know, the next main box that should be coming soon. There's no confirmation that we're going to be getting a new main box anytime soon, but at the same time, it's been like a month since the last box that we got into Duel Links. I could easily see Konami, you know, thinking about adding a new main box into Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links because it's about that time, that's for sure. So maybe they'll add Cyberse in the next main box, or they'll add Cyberse near Zexal World, or they'll just add it, you know, just sometime in the middle of the summer. I really don't know, but hey, Cyberse is coming to Duel Links. I'm very excited for it, and it's really cool that they're thinking about introducing a new monster type into Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. What do you guys think about Cyberse? Do you guys think it's going to come soon in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links? Tell me in the comment section down below. Well, since this leak video is going to be pretty short than normal, I thought it'd been a cool idea to just kind of talk about some of the new stuff that's actually in Duel Links itself. They added some nice quality of life changes into the game that some of you guys may or may not have noticed, and I thought it'd been a good idea to just talk about them in this video. So let's go take a look at it. First things first is that they finally did something that I'm really glad that they finally got around to doing it. They did an addition to the tabs in the settings menu. So if you go into the settings menu, before when you're not in a duel and you go into the settings menu, all you would see is the general settings right here where you can change your standard stuff like the game volume, day and night cycles, global chat, and whatnot. And before, when you go into the settings menu when you're not in a duel, you wouldn't get the duel settings. But now when you go into the main menu of the game, or you know, you go to the little gear icon over here like I just did, go to the settings, you can now change your duel settings, so you don't need to be in a duel to change the settings. It's something that after playing Duel Links for like 3 years now, I've noticed that there's times where I do want to switch this stuff around, but I would have to go into a duel real quick to do it in the first place. I'm just nice that Duel Links just finally added the duel settings in this menu right here. I don't know why they kept the duel tab only during duels and not just put it in here, but they finally got around to changing it. Nice quality of life change, really cool. Another little quality of life change that they did is that they decided to update the icons in the game, and I'm gonna be honest, I really like these little cute artworks that they did. Before, this icon right here stand for banishment. Now they changed it to this kind of like just card getting just disintegrated, which is pretty cool. They also updated and added some icons right here. They added an icon indicating that a card is banished face down, which is pretty cool. They added an icon indicating that a card was used for a synchro summon material, which could be very useful depending on what deck that you play. Sometimes there's certain cards that you need to trigger and you need to know that was your synchro summon material, so that's pretty cool right there. And then also we have some updates right here where a card was banished temporarily. Now we have the new icon with a little timer right there. And then one thing that they decided to do is that they decided to remove this icon because it was just a little excessive. As you guys can see on their example, they basically had 2 ways of indicating that a card is getting targeted. They had this little white symbol right here, and then they had this icon too, and they just removed it completely because there's no real need to just have 2 different icons indicate both things. We always follow the white target thing. I've always done that. To be honest, I don't even really notice these icons that much in Yu-Gi-Oh! They're just kind of there to be there, but yeah, that's what happened right here. And then one other quality of life change that they did is that they updated the PvP timer countdown. The following changes have been made to the timer that appears during PvP duels. Before, if 0.1 through 0.9 seconds pass before player input, the time is rounded up to 1 second. Example, 1.3 seconds is rounded to 2 seconds. After, the timer will now round to the nearest 10th. Basically, if I'm reading this correctly, which correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section down below, I'm currently recording this at 5:45 a.m. I'm gonna guess that this means is that the timer is just now more accurate since it's now getting rounded to the nearest 10th. and when you're going for your inputs and stuff like that, I don't think it'll get rounded up to as quickly as that second anymore, and this should be a good change, especially for the decks that take a lot of time to play, like for example Meta Piss. So like I said, correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section down below. I don't think this change is going to be that big of a deal, but it's a thing to just take a look at nonetheless. So in the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG and OCG, they actually updated their rulings recently, and they updated the effect resolution on how certain cards work. And since the rules for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game are very similar for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links decided to adapt those new rules into the game, which makes a lot of sense. So they announced this stuff back in March, and now it's finally implemented in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links in the new version 4.6 update. So I'd strongly recommend you guys to go take a look at the notifications tab in Duel Links and be sure to go read all these new changes for the effect resolution, because of the fact that some of the decks that you guys currently play are going to play a little different than normal because of the new update. I also need to take a look at this myself, so I'm not going to go through everything with the new before and after changes, because one, other content creators already have done that, and two, I probably would just misread stuff and be like, is that how it works, when it doesn't really work like that. So I'll put a video in the description down below. Also recommend you guys to take a look at this and read this up so you guys know how your deck will possibly get changed. But now it's finally officially in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, because the new app version 4.6 is now in the game. So the last thing that I'm going to do in today's Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links update video for April 21st is talk about the new cards that got introduced in the repeat event, Memories of a Friend. Memories of a Friend is an event to unlock Dark Side Dimensions Joey, but since this is a repeat event, they got to add a few new cards for the players that already played the event previously. So we now have new cards called Head Judging and DD Patrol Plane. Now, personally, I never made a video on the previous upcoming updates for March because I was out of town and I just couldn't make one yet, so I don't really know what these cards do. So I thought it would have been fun to do my first impressions on these cards and wrap it up for today's video, so let's get into it. So Head Judging is a UR card that you can obtain from the Memories of a Friend event, and this card states it is a trap continuous card that states when a monster on the field activates its effect, you can make the activating player toss a coin and call it. If they call it right, send this card to the graveyard. If they call it wrong, negate that effect's activation, and if you do, change control of that monster to their opponent. You can activate this effect of Head Judging once per turn. This card is a UR card that you can obtain from this event right here. Now this card is very interesting because it is definitely a gamble card that can help you out in a duel. If you force this card on your opponent and they activate an effect, if they call the wrong coin, well, you get to snag that monster for yourself and negate that activation, which is honestly could shut down some decks, because instead of sending it to the graveyard, you get to keep it for yourself, which is actually pretty good, because as you guys know, in this current meta, there's a lot of decks in the game that even if a monster's effect does get negated, if it gets sent to the graveyard, the deck can still do some combos. Personally, for me, I play Chaos Dragon Levianeer, and sometimes when my monsters get sent to the graveyard, I really don't care, because I'm just going to banish my light and dark monsters and start special summoning a bunch of boss monsters. So if somebody used Head Judging on me, it would probably mess me up pretty bad. Now, what I am glad about this card is the fact that it cannot be used with the Master of Destiny skill from Sartorius. If I said the wrong name of the skill, I'll correct myself in post-editing, but basically that skill, actually, fuck it, let's go look it up real quick. Yeah, I don't know why I just didn't go to this immediately, but nonetheless, we have Master of Destiny, a skill from Sartorius that states, when you toss a coin, the result will always be heads for the first 3 coin tosses. The skill only activates at the beginning of the duel with a deck that has 7 or more cards with different names that require coin tosses. And I'm glad that the new card right here, which we'll take a look at again, Head Judging, would be a very bad card to combo in that deck, which I'm personally fine with, because Master of Destiny decks can be very annoying, because if you played Master of Destiny with a card like Head Judging, your opponent would just be like, oh, I know that you're playing that skill, let me just call Heads, and then Head Judging would get popped. So at least Head Judging can't get abused by that skill, and it is definitely a gamble card. Like, this card is definitely a Joey card, a gamble card, where your opponent has to guess heads or tails, and depending on what they choose, you either get huge bonuses from it, or your Head Judging is gone. So I could see Head Judging being in some meme decks, and I wouldn't mind giving this card a shot, that's for sure. Now, the last new card that got introduced into the Memories of Friend event is DD Patrol Plane. This is an SR card that is a 3-star Dark Machine effect monster. During the end phase, if this card is currently banished and was banished this turn, you can banish 1 card from your hand, field, or graveyard, and if you do special summon this card in attack position, you only can use this effect of DD Patrol Plane once per turn. This card has 1200 attack, 800 defense. So the only little cheeky combo that I can think of with DD Patrol Plane is that, well, if this card is currently banished during the end phase of either player's turn, so probably your opponent's turn, you can trigger this card's effect where you can banish a card from your hand, field, or graveyard, and if you do special summon this card, now it's going to be your turn. What if you had, your boy Different Dimension Master? You can probably tribute off your Patrol Plane for Different Dimension Master, and then trigger Different Dimension Master's effect by discarding a spell card to then special summon one of your removed from play monsters, while the monster that you just banished for patrol plane, you can special that sucker on the field and go for this guy and just do some wacky combos from there. It's not a practical combo, but it's still a combo nonetheless. Or you can probably combo DD Patrol Plane and some Thunder Dragon combos, because Thunder Dragons do like to get banished and whatnot, but still, this is just a free-to-play card that you can get from the event. It's a very niche card anyways. The fact that you can only trigger this card's effect through it getting banished, I don't really know how I feel about it. Well, I guess you can use Gold Sarcophagus. Yeah, that would actually probably be the play. 3 Patrol Plane, 3 different Dimension Master, 3 Gold Sarcophagus. Yeah, some people might be able to figure out some busted combos with this deck. Now that I just remember that Gold Sarcophagus exists and we have 3 copies of it in Duel Links, the gears are starting to kind of turn in my head. I might be able to build a cool deck, so we'll see if I get around to that, that's for sure. But yeah, DD Patrol Plane, there you go. Well, that is it for today's Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links update video for April 21st. If you guys watched to the end of this video and you have not already, you guys know what to do. Hit that like button on the video down below and subscribe to the YouTube channel for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links content. Nonetheless, though, thank you so much for watching today's Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links leak video, and I'll go see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.